Welcome to the webinar, Applicant Tracking Systems, What You Need to Know to Get Your Resume Noticed. Applicant Tracking Software Systems, also known as ATS, are software systems that manage job openings, applications, and the selection process of resumes sent to hiring managers. In the past, applicant tracking systems were very expensive and only large companies invested money in them. But as improvements are made, more small and mid-sized organizations are using ATS software to do the initial applicant screening because it saves them time and money. The learning outcomes for this webinar include gaining basic knowledge of applicant tracking system software and how to apply for jobs through ATS systems. We will discuss how to create a targeted resume, and finally, you will learn the need for having multiple versions of your resume to use during the job search process. Up to 75% of resumes evaluated by ATS software are discarded based on criteria set by the employer. We will be presenting information that will help you target a version of your resume to meet ATS software criteria. To increase your resume's chance of meeting the ATS criteria and being passed to the hiring manager, follow the steps outlined in this presentation. With ATS systems, you must appeal to the computer software and meet its criteria before any human sees your resume. Therefore, it is necessary to customize your resume content to match the job description. Remember, there is no such thing as a one-size-fits-all resume. Use keywords appropriately to match the job description. If you make it through the ATS screen, then a human will evaluate your resume for appropriate skills and abilities. ATS technology is improving, and up-to-date versions rely on contextualization, not on simple keyword matches as in the past. Present information in each section in reverse chronological order. Start with the most recent and work backward. List only information that is relevant to the specific job you are applying for. Do not use a font size smaller than 11 point. Use all caps for headings. Use blank lines between sections. If the ATS will accept a PDF file, save your resume as a PDF. If it will not accept PDF files, then be sure that your resume is saved in the Word 97/2003 version of Microsoft Word, so the file will be a .doc file, not a .docx file. I have had anecdotal information from HR personnel that PDF formats do not upload correctly to ATS systems, so be sure that you are following instructions for the best outcomes. You may be offered the choice of completing the application or uploading the resume. Do one or the other, but not both. Experts recommend that you upload the resume if you have a choice. Many companies will include additional questions that you must answer, but it is not the same information needed in the application. In this case, answer the questions and upload the resume. However, keep in mind that many ATS systems are built to read text only, so tables, columns, headers, footers, pictures, and text boxes may cause the resume to be rejected and the software will discard your resume. Choose standard fonts and bullets such as Arial, Tahoma, Calibri, Garamond, or Times New Roman. Avoid borders, shading, and symbols. Include your name and contact information in the body of the resume, not in the header. Some experts recommend using only left align in the ATS version of your resume. Follow instructions for uploading your documents to the ATS exactly. If you cannot follow the steps to apply, how can the company rely on you to follow instructions on the job? Answer all the application questions as completely as possible. These questions are the first step in the filter process. If you leave a question blank, the ATS may discard your application and resume. The ATS software may also require that you answer questions. Do not skip these short answer questions. Candidates who do not answer the questions will be rejected by the software filtering system. Generally, these are specific questions related to the job or position and will only take a few sentences to answer. In the real estate market, the refrain may be location, 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 but for resumes and applicant tracking software, the refrain is context, context, context. Evaluate the job description to identify keywords to incorporate into your resume. Use the keywords in your work experience bullets to effectively demonstrate knowledge and skills related to the position. Do not take the advice of some websites to hide or use invisible text to beef up the number of keywords in the resume. Employers are well aware of this tactic, and the ATS software will identify and discard resumes using this strategy. Remember that you want to get your resume into the hands of a person who can make hiring decisions, so using tricks like hidden text can only hurt your chances of being considered for the job. Customize your content to match the needs of the company as stated in the job description and what you gather through research into the company. Be sure to use exact keywords, industry acronyms, and variations of the keywords. For example, use manage, manager, and management appropriately in the resume. For an ATS suitable resume, list a qualifications or profile section first. Mirror the keywords and skills listed in the job description in the bullets for this section. I recommend no more than 3 or 4 bullets here. The next section is experience. The ATS software is weighting the skills, experience, and other information in the resume based on its programmed rubric. Then, resumes are ranked based on the score. HR personnel will look at the report of rankings before they ever look at the resume itself. If your resume does not rank highly, it will probably never be seen by a human. Based on this ranking of skills and experience, HR personnel decide whose resume they will actually read. Here you can see one suggested format for an ATS version of a resume with each piece of information about the job on a separate line. Name of employer, next line dates, and the third line has the job title. Research to find the best format for you. For employers using ATS, the resume can be 2 pages long, but no longer. The information should be relevant to the job. No fluff. The one exception to using the header is when you have multiple pages. In the header, you will put your name and page 2. Do not include any other information in the header. Your name and contact information are in the body of the document. The ATS software will probably not read the header, but if your resume is ranked highly, when it is printed or emailed, a human will be able to see that both pages belong to your resume, and the pages will be less likely to be separated or lost. Beef up the skills section, including certifications, and utilize industry-specific terminology. Include both words and acronyms. However, do not include company-specific terminology. If the terminology is used throughout your industry or field, use it in the resume. If the terminology is only used inside your company, reword the information so it will be understood across the industry. In a targeted resume, use both industry jargon and acronyms. For example, state Certified Public Accountant and CPA in the resume. Look at the job description to identify possible headings for each section of the resume. Sometimes I speak of spacing on the resume as real estate because it is so valuable in providing enough information and maintaining white space for ease of reading. For ATS applications, do not waste valuable space on the resume with an objective statement, since the job you are applying for is your objective. You can present your most important skills, knowledge, and experience in a keyword-filled profile or summary section that replaces the objective. Use 3 to 4 bullets to present this information instead of an objective statement. There are several formatting issues that you need to be aware of in creating a resume for an applicant tracking system. Do not type in lowercase when it is inappropriate. A resume is not a text message. Lowercase for proper nouns such as names, businesses, and location indicates a lack of attention to detail. It may not make positive impression, and it might get your resume discarded before it can be analyzed by a hiring manager. Don't list credentials next to your name at the top of the resume. The ATS may identify those as your last name, not as credentials. Credentials can be listed in the profile section for the ATS resume. Use the credentials next to your name for the version that you hand to the prospective employer at the job fair or during the interview. Before you ever submit your resume, have it critiqued by one of our counselors at the University Career Center. You can make an appointment to have all your job search documents critiqued. Save the resume with a name that is easy for the recruiter or hiring manager to identify. Use your last name, comma, first name, comma or hyphen, the word resume, and if possible, the name of the position. Your resume must pass the ATS and be easily scanned by a human. Be sure that you follow the instructions for applying for the job. If you do not follow directions, you could be jeopardizing the likelihood that your resume will be seen by a human. Proofreading and editing for grammar, punctuation, and spelling is critical. Symbols created on a keyboard, such as a $ or @ symbols, will be recognized by the ATS. Don't use symbols from the ASCII because the ATS will return those symbols into question marks. We've all seen internet articles with question marks where a symbol should have been. You want to avoid that on your ATS resume. I also recommend that you don't use ampersands because it is used in texting language, and you want the resume to be professional in content and appearance. Small mistakes that the software doesn't recognize can mean that your resume is discarded. Once the resume gets to a real person, whether HR personnel or the hiring manager, your resume must be perfect. Little details are important in demonstrating your attention to detail and your interest in the position. Create multiple versions and formats of your resume. Have a version suitable for the ATS, and have additional versions to mail or email directly to contacts. These pretty versions can include symbols, limited color, borders, and other formatting elements. Remember that as companies have come to rely on ATS systems, the software has been improved. So companies will be different. Some will be up to date and have the latest version of the ATS software that can handle many of the formatting elements. Others will not have the latest and greatest, so you need to create your resume for the lower limits of the ATS system. Many companies also require that cover letters be entered into the ATS and scanned along with the resume. This is an additional opportunity for you to focus on keywords and skills needed for the position and an opportunity to add information that did not fit in the resume. Also, in cover letters, the tone needs to reflect your professional self, but it doesn't have to be written in the same way that resumes are written. It is okay to use personal pronouns such as I, me, my, and we in the cover letter. Also, a subject is required for each sentence, unlike resume bullets that start with an action verb. Do not spam the ATS by sending in multiple versions of the resume for the same position. The ATS software compiles information about the applicants and provides a report so recruiters know if an individual is spamming the system. However, it is okay to apply to multiple positions within the same company, but be sure that all content in every version of your resume is correct. Recruiters interested in an applicant can view all the versions of the resume submitted to the ATS. Discrepancies, such as the number of years of experience in a specific area, will cause red flags and get your resume discarded. Check your spam email folder. Most ATS software will automatically acknowledge your submission by email, but many of these automated responses may go to your spam folder. If you were sent an email requesting additional information, you will have limited time to respond before the system assumes you're not interested in the position. So check your spam folder often. Multiple applications means multiple resumes. Remember that there is no one-size-fits-all resume. You will need to utilize job descriptions to identify keywords and skills the company is seeking for specific positions. Also, research each company to learn as much about them as possible. Use this knowledge to create targeted resumes and cover letters that will get past the ATS and impress the hiring manager. The job search process is hard work, but it is very rewarding once you have the job that you want. If you have questions, you can email the Career Center and we can respond and give you that answer. Also, you can phone us at 806-742-2210 to set up an appointment. You can make appointments in person, by phone, and by Skype. Thank you.